Hi, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. So happy to be back with you again this evening. We're continuing to read in our book, On the Banks of Plum Creek by Laura Ingalls Wilder. Now, do you remember yesterday? Pa finished the fancy new house, all made of boards. So today's chapter is 17, Moving In, which is exactly what Pa said they were going to do. In the sunny morning, Ma and Laura helped carry everything from the dugout up to the top of the bank and load it on the wagon. Laura hardly dared look at Pa. They were bursting with secret surprise for Ma. Ma did not suspect anything. She took the hot ashes out of the little old stove so that Pa could handle it. She asked Pa, "Did you remember to get more stovepipe?" "Yes, Carolyn," Pa said. Laura did not laugh, but she choked. "Goodness, Laura," Ma said, "have you gotten a frog in your throat?" Sam and David hauled the wagon away across the ford and back over the prairie up to the new house. Ma and Mary and Laura, with armfuls of things, and Carrie toddling ahead, went over the footbridge and up the grassy path. The sod lumber house with its bottomed shingle roof was all golden on the knoll, and Pa jumped off the wagon and waited to be with Ma when she saw the cook stove. Now, the reason the house looked golden was they didn't paint them in those days. Or at least Pa didn't get to paint his, so it was the color of the fresh cut wood. She walked into the house and stopped short. Her mouth opened and shut. Then she said weakly, my land." Laura and Mary whooped and danced, and so did Carrie, though she didn't know why. "It's yours, Ma. It's your new cook stove," they shouted. "It's got an oven and 4 lids and a little handle." Mary said, "It's got letters on it and I can read them. P-A-T, Pat." "Oh, Charles, you shouldn't have," Ma said. Pa hugged her. "Don't worry, Carolyn," he told her. "I've never worried, Charles," Ma answered. "But building such a house and glass windows and buying a stove, it's all too much." "Nothing's too much for you," said Pa. "And don't worry about the expense. Just look through that glass at the wheat field." But Laura and Mary pulled her to the cook stove. She lifted the lids as Laura showed her. She watched while Mary worked the draw and looked at the oven. "My," she said, "I don't know if I dare try to get dinner on such a big, beautiful stove." But she did get dinner on that wonderful stove, and Mary and Laura set the table in the bright, airy room. The glass windows were open. Air and light came in from every side, and sunshine was streaming in through the doorway and the shining window behind it. Such fun to eat in that big, airy lighthouse that after dinner they sat at the table just enjoying being there. "Now, this is something like," Pa said. Then they put up the curtains. Glass windows must have curtains, and Ma had made them of pieces of worn-out sheets, starched and crisp and white as snow. She had edged them with narrow strips of pretty calico. The curtains in the big room were edged with pink strips from Carrie's little dress that had been torn when the oxen ran away. The bedroom curtains were edged with strips from Mary's old blue dress. That was the pink calico and the blue calico that Pa had brought home from town long, long ago in the big woods. While Pa was driving nails to hold the strings for the curtains, Ma brought out 2 long strips of brown wrapping paper that she saved. She folded them and she showed Mary and Laura how to cut tiny bits out of the folded paper with scissors. When they each unfolded their paper, there were rows of stars. Ma spread the paper on the shelves behind the stove. The stars hung over the edges of the shelves, and the light shone through them. Then the curtains were up. Ma hung 2 snowy, clean sheets across the corner of the bedroom. That made a nice place where Pa and Ma could hang their clothes. Up in the attic, Ma put another sheet that Mary and Laura could hang their clothes behind. The house was beautiful when Ma finished. The pure white curtains were looped back on each side of the clear windows. Between those pink-edged snowy curtains, the sunshine just streamed in. The walls were all clean, piney-smelling boards with the skeleton of the house against them, and the ladder going up to the attic. The cook stove and its stovepipe were glossy black, that means shiny black, and in the corner were the starry shelves. Ma spread the between meals red checkered cloth on the table, and on it she set a shiny clean lamp. She laid there the paper-covered Bible with the big green wonders of the animal world and the novel named Millbank. The 2 benches stood neatly by the table, so they owned 3 books. 1, 2, yes, 3 books. The last thing, Pa hung the bracket on the wall by the front window, and Ma stood the little china shepherdess on it. That was the wood brown bracket that Pa had carved with stars and vines and flowers for Ma's Christmas long ago. That was the same smiling little shepherdess with golden hair and blue eyes and pink cheeks, her little china bodice laced with china gold ribbons, and her little china apron and her little china shoes. She had traveled from the big woods all the way to Indian Territory and all the way to Plum Creek in Minnesota, and there she stood smiling. She was not broken. She was not nicked or even scratched. She was the same little shepherdess, smiling the same smile. And let's see a picture of her. That night, Mary and Laura climbed the ladder and went to bed by themselves in their large, airy, very own attic. They did not have curtains because Ma had no more sheets. But each had a box to sit on, and each had a box to keep her treasures in. Charlotte and the paper dolls lived in Laura's box, and Mary's quilt blocks and her scrap bag were in Mary's box. Behind the curtain, each had her nail to take her nightgown off and hang her dress on. That's the single thing wrong with that room was that Jack couldn't climb up the ladder. Laura went to sleep at once. She had been running in and out of the new house and up and down the ladder all day. But she could not stay asleep. The new house was so still. She missed the sound of the creek singing to her in her sleep. The stillness kept waking her up. At last, it was a sound that opened her eyes. She listened. It was the sound of many little feet running overhead. It seemed to be thousands of little animals scampering on the roof. What could it be? Why, it was raindrops. Laura had not heard rain pattering on the roof for so long that she'd forgotten the sound of it. In the dugout, she could not hear the rain. There was so much earth and grass above her. She was happy while lying drowsily asleep again. hearing the patter of rain on the roof. And I love the sound of rain on the roof too. So they're in their house. Pa made it so nice and special for Ma and the girls. And then Ma just made sure to decorate it beautifully. And they can hear the rain. I bet they'll be able to hear the wind too. I like to hear that. Well, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. I want to pray blessings on you and yours, in your house and out of your house, in the day and the night. Whatever you do, keep dreaming. Good night. If you haven't subscribed yet, please push that subscribe button. If you hit the bell notice, you'll get a notice every time I post a video. All right. I'll be reading to you tomorrow. Good night.